Hi, and welcome back to Craft Along with Jay. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Yara, and I am so thrilled that you could join me today. Today is that time of the month where we are going to join the Just Our Imagination Challenge. We have a really fun one and some interesting items, especially one of them. But let's get to our host, Kathy Jo DIYs, Rustic and Lace DIY, and the guest host is Claire's Creations Part 2. And when you're done with this video, don't forget to go down in my description box and find the playlist and check out everybody. Now to our items, we're going to use tumbling towel blocks, acrylic nails. Can you believe it? Yep, that's what I was thinking too when I found out. And embroidery hoops. I got two embroidery hoops of different sizes. This one is 6 inches and the other one is 4 inches. So, yep, let's see what I came up with this month. For project number one, we're going to start with the embroidery hoops. We're going to use both of them. And I got this Waverly muslin cloth that I got from Walmart. And I'm going to lay that on top of the inner loop of the embroidery hoop. And the muslin fabric is folded in half because it's very see-through if you just use it single layer. So I do it double layered so that way you can't really see through and it gives it a bit more coverage. And then I'm going to put the top part back on the embroidery hoop and I'm going to tighten it at the top so the fabric is in place. And I'm just going to cut around with a little bit on this that sticks out on the sides. We'll fix that here in a little bit. And I do the same thing to the smaller hoop. And as I'm tightening it, I'm pulling the fabric so that way it's tight and stretched out. And here I'm trying to figure out how much I need to trim it some more because I do want to fold the fabric around the edge and then glue it in so you don't have any fabric sticking out on the sides or any running threads or anything like that. So I figured if we glue it to the inside, it would kind of eliminate that. I was going to use some tacky glue, but I changed my mind. I'm just going to use some hot glue and it worked just fine. And I don't have to sit here and wait for it to dry. The hot glue takes care of it right away. And since it's double layered, once you fold it over and down, it's just the bottom layer that's going to stay stuck to the glue. So you have to go back in between the layers of fabric and add some more hot glue and push it down so all of it is kind of connected and stuck together. And we're going to go all the way around the hoop for both this one and also the smaller hoop. Trim it first, the excess, and then just fold it over and glue it in. And it gives it a nice smooth finish at the end. And I don't think I'm going to show you me doing this all the way around, but I just want to make sure you kind of see it's double layered. So once you go around the hoop, when you fold that fabric down, it's just the inner layer that's going to lay down. So you need to go back with some more double glue, with some more glue and go in between the layers and fold that top layer down so that way it's all laying down nicely like that. It's been a long day. I've been editing for quite some time today, so please bear with me. Now we're going to do the tumbling towel blocks and we're going to use Titebond's wood glue. And the first thing I'm doing is connecting 3 tumbling towel blocks end to end using the glue. And then I'm going to put that to the side and let it dry for a while before I move on with this part. And first I'm going to wipe off the excess. There may be a little bit kind of seeping out and we're going to just wipe that back because we are going to paint this later when it dries. And then I'm going to do 4 sets of 2 and I'm going to glue those together end to end as well. Like so. Yep. Pretty quick. And then once that's dry, I may have let it sit overnight. I can't remember. I think I did. And then I'm going to go in and connect it all. So I'm taking the 2 tumbling towel blocks that we glued together earlier and we're going to put some not hot glue, wood glue on it and attach it to the set of 3. And then we're going to keep putting the sets of 2 on top. So if you already kind of figured out, we're making a little snowman. And now to the acrylic nails. I'm taking some of the bigger pieces and I'm kind of feeling it and studying it and kind of figuring out before going to and cut them. They're pretty easy to cut with the scissors. So I didn't have to go get my nail clippers, which was nice. And I'm just gonna cut some circles. And it's not hard to cut, but it's kind of hard to get a nice circle just because it's such a small piece that I'm dealing with, but also it's very smooth and slippery. So I had a little bit of a tough time with it, but it all worked out at the end. So all together, I'm gonna cut, I believe it's 7 circles, and then one kind of triangular piece, kind of rounded triangular piece, if that makes sense, for his nose. So I want to take a moment to thank everybody who has subscribed to my channel. My goal was to meet 1,500 subscribers by Christmas, and guess what? I've already met that goal. I am so excited. So thank you to everyone who subscribed. It really means the world to me. So, and I do have a new goal now, and I'm hoping to meet 2,000 subscribers by, I can't remember the date, but towards the end of February when I've had my channel for about a year. So if you like what you see, please subscribe and join my journey. And as you can see, I went in with a little nail file and I just kind of filed around the edges of my circles, like you do a nail to make it smooth. And then I went in with some black apple barrel acrylic paint and I'm going to paint the circles. And I believe I give them 2 coats. And then the nose, I'm going to go in with Waverly's chalk paint in pumpkin. And I'm giving that 2 coats too. I apologize that my yellow brush is in the way right here. But you can kind of see what I'm doing. And then while that's drying, I'm going to go in with my apple barrel in black again, and I'm going to paint my snowman's hat. And we're going to do the front, the sides, and the back. And I believe I just gave it 1 coat. It gave really good coverage, so I didn't need to do any more than 1 coat. Okay, so when our little eyes and our nose are dry, I'm gonna start putting it together on the snowman's face. And the first thing I'm doing is just kind of making sure that my placement is the way I want to have it. So I'm just putting everything up there before I start attaching anything with some glue. And then when I'm happy with the way it looks, we're gonna start adhering it all. And I'm gonna use Aleene's tacky glue. And here you can see, since the nails are kind of rounded, I'm going around the edges of the nail because that's the part that's going to touch the fabric. So I'm just going to go around the edges and then I'll put it down when I'm done putting glue on it. So I'm trying to figure out how to turn it without getting glue on my finger. Yep, like so. And then I did the eyes already. I did it with my fingers, but it's so small, I kept getting glue on my fingers. So I took my little tool here, my little tweezers to help me. So I'm holding it with that and then adding the glue around the edges and then putting it down. And that works so much better. I'm sorry I'm a little out of frame here, but I'm just going around the edges of the circle, adding the tacky glue, as you can see right here, and then I'll lay it down. And this dries fairly quickly, so you can still kind of keep working while it's sitting there. And then we'll do the last one. And then I picked out 3 black buttons and I'm going to attach them to his body. And I'm just going to use some hot glue to do that because it has more of a back, so a flat back, so it's easier to adhere to the fabric. There's a bigger area. And then I'm going to go in with some antique wax and I go around the hoop. I probably should have done that in the beginning, um, but I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it. But as I kind of neared the end of the project, I was like, yeah, we need to kind of darken it up a little bit. And I like this much better. So I'm just going to apply some and then wipe it back, the excess back. And I apologize about the lighting here. I'm not quite sure what happened. I'm in a different room now. But early in the video, I didn't have this issue, so I'm not sure if it's the time of the day or if it was on my phone. I'm not quite sure, but I do apologize. It will turn back to normal in a little while, so please bear with me. And here I'm just going to add some red velvet ribbon around the brim of my hat, and I'm just using some hot glue to attach that. There we go. And I'm just going in just to get some of the excess glue off that kind of seeped out at the bottom. And I'm just using my little trick, trick, Cricut tool. I cannot speak today. And my fingernails to kind of get that off. And then I had a piece of greenery right there that I attached. And then I'm going to attach 3 little red berries, just where it's connecting to the hat. Like so. And then we know because this is, oh, and I made a little bow too that doesn't have any tails, just the bow part. And I'm trying to figure out the placement on my hat where I want it. And then once I have that, I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue to the back and attach the bow. And I'm putting it towards the side. I kind of like that look better. And then I go in with cardinal red. I like to use that paint to kind of paint over my berries so that it doesn't look like styrofoam berries like they typically look like at um, Dollar Tree. Because you, even though they're red, you can kind of tell they're kind of styrofoam. It doesn't give it a nice good coverage. So I like to go in with my cardinal red and kind of spruce it up, make it look more like berries. And so that's what I'm doing here, and I'm making sure I get all the way around and down into the tight places right there. And now it's time to put it all together. First, we're going to put on his little head, and I'm using a good amount of hot glue to attach it. I'm going to lay it on top of his body like so, so we kind of cover that metal part that's on the big embroidery hoop. You see I need to put my scissors down under it to keep it leveled while the glue sets. And then I just picked up some um, they're not branches, what I call twigs from my yard. And I'm just going to cut them down and figure out the sizing and make his little arms. And then, use my miter shears to cut them down. And I cut them at it. The fingers I'm cutting at an angle, so when I attach them to the bigger part, they kind of line up very nice against the longer one. And then I'm going to make a little scarf. I just had some leftover fabric and I folded it over and I'm going to glue it down so that way both sides have the stripes and we can't see the inside at all. And then once I'm done gluing that all the way around, we're going to start attaching it around his little neck, as you see right here. And here I'm playing with the placement and how I want it to look. And then I'm going to go in with some hot glue. As you see, I just give it a dot and put the first part down. And I kind of like the scarf to kind of be scrunched up a little bit where it's connecting. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of hot glue in between the folds so that way it stays kind of scrunched up before we attach it to um, the other part of the scarf and his body, as you'll see right here. So we got it scrunched up and then I just added a little bit to the other scarf so it's connected. And then I wanted it to lay a little bit more down the side, so I am going to give it a little bit more of a hot glue to the embroidery hoop, like so. And then I'll just lay it down right there on top of it, just like that. And that way it's holding it in place. And then we'll attach his little hat, and I'm just using some hot glue as well. Give it a generous amount. And then just adding it to the top. And I do end up adding a little red button where his scarf is connected. You'll see that here in a second. And then because his head was still a little bit wobbly, I did add, I think it's a paint stir stick that I cut down into place. And then I'm just glue it to hold his body down to the bigger loop embroidery hoop. So he's good and sturdy now. His head is not going anywhere. But there he is. I think he's absolutely adorable. Let me know what you think. For project number 2, we are going to use some tumbling towel blocks. And I believe I used 16 total. And here I'm lining up for, first I'm going with a design. I have already cut one tumbling towel blocks at an angle so it would lay flush against the middle line while I'm making the arms stick out to the sides. And I'm just using my miter shears to cut them at an angle. I don't know if it's the best way to do it because it was kind of tough to cut the tumbling towel blocks, and also some of them really went flying. So if you're going to do this, you may want to wear a helmet and some goggles to protect your eyes because when they go flying, they go flying. Trust me. But that was the easiest way that I could think of. I didn't want to use a saw or anything like that because it's small pieces and I didn't want to cut my fingers. So I kind of just went with it. But just make sure, wear precautions. Don't get hurt. Now we're going to attach it all. Here I'm adding some wood glue. And first I'm going to connect 4 in a row going down. And then wipe off any excess glue that may seep out. But here I'm just painting it on. And then we're going to attach the other ones. As you could probably see the way I cut the tumbling towel blocks, we're going to make a big snowflake. So here I'm going to start here in the middle, and it's just 2 on either side going straight. And I'm wiping off the excess. And then we're going to start having them down at an angle right here. So that's why we cut them like this, so they're laying flush against the middle part. And I'm just going to use some of the wood glue to attach them. And here when we do the extension here, it's just regular ends. You don't have to cut those at an angle, just the ones that's gonna add up in the middle. And then the little ones that we're doing right here, just to give them a little bit more of a snowflake look. And how I got that size, I cut a tumbling towel block in the middle, and then each part of those I cut at an angle, so they're laying flush against the whole piece, as you can see right here. So they're even smaller. So that's what I'm saying. Don't use the saw because you'll just hurt your fingers. Um, but yeah, if you're using miter shears, helmet, goggles, wear it all. Just be safe. So here, we're going to go all the way around. And then once I've got them all connected, I'm going to let them sit overnight. I believe I do. I'm pretty sure I did. To let it set. And the glue will attach it. So it's not going to go anywhere. Yeah, it is the next day. And here I painted it with Waver's chalk paint and plaster. I just gave it one coat on both sides. And then I'm going to go in with some antique wax and we're going to distress it. I kind of wanted the distress look. I wanted it kind of to be a primitive, vintage, rustic snowflake, if that makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and H it up a little bit, or quite a bit. The first thing I do, I'm going around the edges with a chippy brush, all the way around. Yeah, I'll speed it up because, it's pretty much the same thing going all the way around. And I'm just dipping my chippy brush down in the antique wax and then I'm wiping some of it off because I don't want it too much. But just enough, you can see it. And then once I've done the edges, I'm kind of going around the whole middle part and the sides. I don't think I do the back because you're not going to be able to see it. But it aged it so well. I really like how it turned out. Then I got this little pick from Walmart, and I'm taking that all apart, even though I'm playing around with it for a while. I don't think I showed that because I spent quite some time playing around with the placement. And I'm just using that piece right there that I'm pulling out right now. That's the one I'm ending up using. But I cut it all down. And then that piece that we cut off in the beginning, I was going to use, I'm cutting that down even further and I'm placing it down the way I want it to look. And I think I'm using like 4 pieces of that, just cutting it down to the size. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm just gonna hot glue them all into place. All 4 pieces. I guess I gotta show you all 4. Well, there we go. All done. Then we can move on. Then I got these little berry picks from the Dollar Tree and they're frosted. I thought that's like perfect for a snowflake. So I'm adding that to the top of my greenery. And then I got this rope gift trim from Walmart and I just made a simple bow and I added it to the top. And I think that gave it that nice rustic look that I was going for. Rustic, primitive, and vintage look. But there it is. I think it's absolutely cute. Let me know what you think. Now, let's move on to the final project, project number 3. So here I got this little frame, wooden frame thing. I think it's from Walmart, and I'm gonna paint the edges with um, Christmas green. And then I go in with this scrapbook paper, and I'm measuring it at I think it's 3 3/4 square. And here I'm measuring on the inside of the box and my paper. And then once I have 3 3/4 in a square, I'm gonna go ahead and cut that out, as you can see right here. And I'm being very careful because I want it to fit like perfect on the inside. And then I'm just going to add some Elmer's glue stick glue to the back of it and attach it to the inside of the frame. And I really like this paper. I think it's so pretty. And I'm just carefully pushing it down and then I'm going to start pressing around the edges and all the way around to make sure it's adhered. And here we are with these acrylic nails again. And I'm just playing around with some of the bigger ones and the placement. And then once I'm kind of happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and start adding some hot glue and just to the edges, just because they are kind of, they're not straight flush down flat. You know, they have that little curve to it. So I'm just the edges. And then I do, once I have 4 at the bottom, I go ahead with another 3 and overlap them. And then the next row, we're going to do 2. So as you can already kind of tell, we're going to make a little Christmas tree with these nails. And I'm cutting the tip of them off because they are kind of white, but then the very tip is clear, and you can really tell the difference, and they're not straight across. And I wanted to make sure they were straight, so that's why I'm kind of trimming the top. And then we just have one at the very top, and I made that a bit smaller. Then I'm gonna go ahead and paint that with my antique green, and I give it, oh, I believe it's 2 coats, 2 or 3 coats, but I think it's 2. And I'm making sure I get down to the sides and into the little crevices. And then I also end up going up in between the nails because if you look, as you can see, if you're looking from here up under it, you can kind of see the white part of it. So I want to make sure that was covered. And then I got this little snowflake and I'm going to paint that with some metallic splendid gold paint. And then I painted another 4 snowflakes with Waverly's chalk paint in white. And here I'm going to use the gold snowflake as a star on my tree. I didn't have any stars, so we're going to go with what we have. And it works out just fine. I like it. And then I just want a little bit more of a 3D effect, and that's why I added some of these wooden snowflakes to go in between the snowflakes on the paper. And I think it looks really pretty. I love it. Just to give it a little extra. And I'm just adding them kind of around without covering up all the other snowflakes that's on the paper. And then while the paint is wet, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle with some glitter. So here I got some green, so we're going to sparkle up this tree. And then once I got this on, I just flip it upside down and shake off the excess. And then I do the same thing for my little star on the top of my tree. I use gold glitter. And then I'm using some silver glitter for my snowflakes. So it's a very glittery little piece, but I think it's cute. So here I just add some hot glue around the edge of my frame, and I got this little pom-pom. I think it's pom-pom I'm not sure what it's called, but it looked like little snowflakes or little snowballs. So it's a trim that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to attach that to the sides of my frame just to give it a little extra. And I think it kind of gives it a bit more character, and I like that. It makes it kind of fun. This project's more like of a fun project. Um, Not like the other two was more like rustic looking. But this was just going to be a fun one. So, and then I added two of these foam snowflakes from the Dollar Tree as well. And I'm just going to add them to the edges, as you can see right here. And this is what it looks like. Very sparkly. A very fun piece. Let me know what you think about this one as well. So now let's take a final look at all three projects. So here's my snowman. I think he's my favorite. I think he's absolutely adorable. Yeah, let me know what you think. And if you made it all the way to the end with me, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, like, hype, and comment. I would really appreciate it. And don't forget to check out that playlist. And check out everybody. Until next time.